Today's episode of DRL is brought to you by Hella Cocktail Company. My guests don't just come to DRL for me. They also come for the cocktails. Luckily, my friends at Hella Cocktail Company have my back. These guys make amazing mixes, from Bloody Mary to Margarita to Moscow Mule. They also make cocktail bitters, my secret ingredient, and now yours too. It's easy to feel like the best bartender in town when every bottle comes with a simple recipe on it. Hella Cocktail Company, bold flavor, real ingredients, hospitality. Mixing it up since 2011. Shop the collection on Amazon Prime or use code DRL online at hellacocktail.co for free shipping. Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of DRL, where we're talking everything dating, relationships, and love. I'm your host, Tanisha Wood. Welcome back. This episode is part 2 of Open Secret with Linda Rissling. Last week on part 1, Linda shared how her and her fiance decided to embark on an open relationship. And this week, she's going to be sharing how her friends and family took it and how they navigate things with their other partners. So if you haven't listened to part 1 yet, be sure to go back and listen to that and then catch up on part 2.
The open relationship setup it's really more like open dating. Really, right? All I'm really doing is open dating. Because you need to understand, I'm in a situation where before I met my partner, I was quote unquote single and on the market, right? Mm-hmm. We got together, I'm off the market. And then now we're in a relationship, but we're both on the market within a relationship, right? You know what I mean? So it's really like I'm now dating the way I think I should have been dating, where it's like without trying to make anyone I'm not trying to like build you into this like escalator, like, are you going to be the one? You know what I mean? I'm not moving in that way. If I meet someone who's like, hey, they want to get to know me, I'm like, okay, cool. Hey, just so you know, up front, as soon as possible, because there is a practice of people feeling like they don't know someone they're dating is open because someone withholds that information until later. So I'm just like, let me just get to the front from the beginning. Now it's different because now I just don't want to date anyone who's new to the practice. It's easier to date. I prefer to date someone who's been open for a while and themselves. But in the beginning, I would say, hey, I'm dating. I'm in a relationship with someone I really, really love, and I intend on making my life partner and marrying him, right? So I will say, hey, I'm open, but this is what it means for you, because they don't care about anything. They want to know what it means for them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what I would want to know.
Exactly. So I'm like, so this is what it means for you. I was just like, we can continue. I was like, you're probably dating. Maybe you're dating to find like a wife or something. Like you're dating to seek a girlfriend out, whatever. On that track, I am not stopping you. Continue to do that. Continue looking. On another track, me and you can just kick it and figure out what happens. So the analogy I used then that was really good was a amusement park analogy. At the amusement park, the Ferris wheel is marriage. Me and you are not getting on that ride. But every other ride in the music park, we can get on.
So you were clear from the beginning. Yeah. This will never get to this space.
No. Or I was like, or we can create a new ride that's just fit for us, you know? And the biggest issue I find in this space is imagination. People just don't know. They only know the Ferris wheel, right? So they're just kind of like, what? Or they think everything else is like a demotion. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm just like,
that's how I saw. Yeah, that's how I see it when you say it.
I do not stop you, because for dating, it's like I am not gonna tell you not to date anyone else. That's crazy. I'm like, continue doing your search for the Ferris wheel. Whoever you want to go on that ride, continue.
But what if you are the person? Like, what if I get into this amusement park and I'm like, this is the person? So it's no
such thing. You just want me. You can make me the person if you decide it in your head to make me. That's what we're doing most of the time. I've just decided you have got to. It's kind of like we're trying to.
But what if I do? What if I walk in and I'm like, damn, I'm in love with this woman. It's just we'll never get to that space. So like, has a situation like that happened, and how do you handle it if it does? If the person's like, no, I want more.
Like, if you want more and you feel like the situation that we're having, if the more that you want specifically is marriage to me, what I found, for example, one guy, his thing was like, I'm cool with this. The only thing is like that he was grappling with was that I'm not even interested in getting married. I'm just surprised. He's like, I'm just having an issue of it not actually being on the table. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I was like, oh.
The fact that I can't have it upsets me even though I don't want it.
Usually what I find is just that people are just like the hunt, right? You've been hunting for this particular person to be the one or whatever it is, or whatever the role that you want them to fill, right? Whatever on this escalator of relationships, right? And you see someone that's like close enough to being like, you seem like you've been the dopest thing since I've been here. So you're like, I want you in that model. And I was like, all right, I was clear up front that that's not what's going to happen, but we can have something else. What people say is like you may want marriage, but what is marriage to you then? Exactly. What is it that you expect out of the role wife? What is it that you plan on being for a husband? Let's talk about it. What is it you really want? This is why I was talking about this is a book called The Relationship Escalator. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And in the relationship escalator, it breaks down the relationships. There's 5 pillars of romantic relationships. So the first one, there's like 5. 1 is monogamy. Monogamy is the pillar number 1, which means that it's more about what you can't do than what you can do. It's just like the whole setup is like, we hold monogamy pillar. You cannot interact with anybody else outside this relationship. You cannot.
You're mine.
That's it, right?
Have you ever seen True Blood?
Yes.
Okay. You remember what Bill always said to Sookie? He'd always be like, Sookie, you are mine. And he'd look her right in the eye and then like hold her and later bite her neck. But he'd be like, you are mine. And it was like every time I saw him, like, do you own Snooki? You are mine.
That possession stuff is.
So that's monogamy. You are mine.
Possession is, it's seductive, but it can be some craziness depending, someone really believes that they own you. Yo, for real. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wait, I was just kind of playing into this. I didn't really mean it, but, Then the second one was merging. An example of merging is like couples are like, instead of saying I, it's more like we. Or merging could be living together, putting our finances together, quote unquote, getting married, all that, right? Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, when we opened up our relationship, we were on the merging track, which is to me what I'm interested in merging with you, right? So I had already had someone I was interested in merging with. So anyone else I dated with, I was clear. I'm like, the Ferris wheel to me was merging. You know what I mean? It was just like, is merging finances, family, that I already have someone I have already set up with that I'm going to do that with, right? Mm-hmm. So when someone else is coming to me, like they're like, oh, I want to get married. I want to be they want to go on the Ferris wheel. Mm-hmm. They just want to merge with someone. You know what I mean? It doesn't really mean me. I happen to be the person that's there at the time, right? In merging, it could be like, oh, now your friends are my friends. We all hang out together or we all go on vacations together. But some people decide, and people are doing it now, right? They're like, hey, we're together, but we don't have to live together. We're together, but we can live together part-time, right? And like, that's a reality that people are allowed to do, but they may not talk about it because some people are like, oh, and then people may think my relationship is not that serious if we're not in the same house. And the third one is hierarchy. Hierarchy is the idea that our romantic relationship is above all. So in the romantic world, romantic culture, your love partner is above everyone else except maybe your parents or whatever. Your friends, even though you care about them, they're almost like demoted. I remember it was pretty common if one of my girlfriends started dating some guy, she just disappeared and she's with the guy and you just got you know what I mean?
You just got to deal like, yeah, she got a boyfriend now. So, we just don't see her anymore on the weekends.
As if our friendship isn't really, you know what I mean, like anything of value. But then when they break up, it's like, hey. And it's
girl, you're back.
Right.
We haven't seen you in forever.
In romantic world, that's real. You know what I mean? And I learned.
But that's why I believe in merging.
Yo.
Because I'm like, I'm just going to hang out with all of you at the same time. I can't truly devote all my time to you and I can't truly devote it all to him. So we're all getting together.
Yes. Just everybody, let's take it. And it's easier that way. Everyone has to, again, you got to figure out the way that works best for you. And even for me, a big part that shifted my language from being open relationship to open companionship was that I realized for example, my partner has a really huge artist community and really close friends. What surprised me was I was used to creating space for his other romantic partners, but I wasn't used to creating space for his friends. And I was just like, that is part of his community. People don't realize your friends affect you heavily. If you have a friend that's draining you, then you go home to your romantic partner, venting, dumping that emotional baggage on them, and then forcing them to do emotional labor just so they can clear that out so they can connect with you the way they wanted to, right? Yep. And it's like that stuff needs to be recognized, but in romantic culture, we diminish friends as if they're like, oh, it's not a big deal.
That's so important. Like, that's so important. And people don't think about that, about how your external relationships affect your primary relationship.
All the time.
Like, if you have friends or family that's every day, they're like just picking off of you and draining, and you think, well, that's just on me, I don't really put it on my partner. That's not true. You do. Whether you realize it or not, the baggage that they put on you, you then carry into your space. And whether you talk about it, whether you say it, it's there and it's heavy and it's thick and it's felt.
Yeah, it is. It's always in the room, and people try to act like it's not. And I'm just like, it's not fair, you know? And it's not fair to you too, you know?
Right.
And so in the whole like hierarchy thing, I was just like, okay, I got to figure out a way to stop, to see his friends as more as companions as well, as other people that need their own time, because I also want him to, I'm not interested in having him like be secluded and be like, oh, it's just me and you forever, you can't have any friends, because your friends nourish you and then help, which end up nourish me, right?
Right.
So I was just like, again, medicine, everyone gives it to you. It's like what one person you're sleeping with, one person you're not. It's like everyone gives you something. Hopefully you have built a community of people who are medicine and not just like leeches, right?
Right.
That's what you really are hoping for. Because if you have I feel like for people who want to go open, the first place to really start is with your friendships and your family. If you're having if you don't know how to really manage that and take ties with people who are really stressing you out, that's the best place to practice. You won't have the time, like you won't have the proper energy to bring someone in a romantic level into that, because you're just bringing someone else adding into the fuckery. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I find a lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't have anyone to date and practice with. I'm like, you have friends and family. How's your immediate circle right now going? Like, start there. Is everything really, really tight? You know what I mean?
That's just, again, like, that's the same way that it functions in like open relationships or in just your regular life. Like, you have to create the space for any person and anything that you want. So if there's people in your life that are just like leeches and draining and you haven't dealt with that, you really you don't have the room for a boyfriend or girlfriend. You don't have the room for a husband. You don't have the room for a child. Like, fix that stuff before you do anything new, open or not.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying when you were like, what if the guy wants to marry you? I'm like, usually it may be a situation where they just want me to, they're using my energy to fix something else. Like they're already running from something else. They need me to fill some hole, some void. And I'm just like, I don't think you're really
it's not about you. It's about something else.
Exactly. I was like, I now know like I can see the pattern early, which is why I was like, I gotta date people who've already been in this game for a minute, because I'm just kind of like, I can tell when someone is just like, I'm just trying to fill the hole. You know what I mean? And that's the eye you want to like get really good sharpening at, because it's like, if someone trying to use you to fix something, or you know what I mean? So it's just like, as opposed to like, I actually just want to get to know you, you know, and you can tell if you feel like there's some sense of pressure and is being a rush to go, you know, for example, have the babies. It's like, you're just trying to fix something else, using my body and my life and my kids to fix something that in your head that makes you feel like something's not right here. You know what I mean? I can't leave here until this is done. My granddaughter has the babies. You're like, yo, I'm good though. Like, right. I'm really living. I could tell you about everything else that's amazing, but I get
Brunch
it. You know?
is good.
Yeah, it was delicious. What? Bottomless? Let's go. The fourth thing was sexual and romantic connection is another part of this whole relationship escalator idea, because a concept of relationship escalator is that romantic relationships have only one direction. It's like you get on the escalator and you just keep going up. You don't do anything. You just, once you've decided, you keep going all the way up till death do you part, right? There's no room for pausing. So in the sense of sexual and romantic connection, it is basically like that was where Reese and I shifted first. We're like, okay, I was not giving up monogamy at the time. I was not giving up merging, and I was not giving up hierarchy. I was like, well, I could, the sex thing, I'm cool with it. You know what I mean? And that's where that was the one pillar we were okay with shifting. And that's where we started. And eventually I was like, okay, monogamy, we could swap that out. And then I went to like, merging we still hold. Then hierarchy, I was like, okay, this is not working because this looks ridiculous when I'm talking to your other partner. I can't act like I'm above her because I'm not. It's not real. You know what I mean? It's just an illusion in my head, right?
That's the part I also have trouble with.
Yeah.
Because, so I know a lot of people from a lot of different places and religions and cultures, and You know, I know people that are in relationships where there's other wives involved.
Yeah.
And I've had conversations in which I've literally said, oh, I could do that if I'm the first wife.
Right.
And I know that I have veto power over everyone and everything. And that's, I think, what I would have. Like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm totally an open, progressive person, and I could do this, and I could be that, and like, yes, I get it. So but in my mind, I'm like, but only under these circumstances. Yeah. Only if I'm the first one, if I'm the primary partner, and everybody knows I'm the HBIC. Like, if they come in and they're like, oh, yes, that's Tanisha, bow down. Then I'm like, you may enter. Please enter the room. Please state your purpose. And then I'm like, okay, you may proceed. But like, I still, even in saying I'm open and I could do this, I still feel like, but with a certain level of control.
Right.
And I don't know how to actually get past that mentally. So it's like, I guess I could be open, but I'm not really that open if I still feel the need to be in control of everything in the process.
Okay. What I love about what you said was that right? Like, number one, especially in this, like, the 5 pillars situation, like, you wouldn't start exploring by removing hierarchy first. I wouldn't suggest that. Like, the thing that this is why I'm breaking this out, because I'm just like, knowing the thing that you're like, okay, I'm not too married to this part. So it's kind of like, in the sense of the hierarchy, in your case, I wouldn't start. If you were interested in exploring anything, I'd keep that, right? But one thing I will give you to an exchange is, I think for me, it came to a problem where I was just like, it didn't vibe with me over time in the beginning. I kept it. You know what I mean? I was holding on to it. I was just like, I was first. But what I learned was the concept of like old relationship energy, right? The thing that someone can't take is the sweat equity that the two of you have built beforehand for being together, right? So what happens is, like, if someone meets me, I've been with my partner for about 8 years now. You coming in at date number 2, no, you will not get all the benefits of what the 8-year relationship has been built off of. But what I will not deny you is the opportunity to build your own with me. Do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And sometimes people are just kind of like, I don't want to wait 8 years and I want it all up front. And that's when you're just like, this is just not going to work that way, right? You know what I mean? You can't get met. Like, if you're dating someone else, if you are open and your partner dates another woman, she's upset that, like, you're meeting his parents, right? It's like, yo, you just got here. Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? They know her. They have a relationship with you. You know what I mean? They're like, you just got to chill. It's like, that's the stuff you got to pay attention to, because sometimes it'll be like, people will think it's like, oh, it's because you don't really want no one to see me. And I'm just like, I was like, sometimes it's just, you learn that some people just want to be brought into every room just to feel like they're actually, as a way of feeling like they're validated and they're loved. And that's really not always necessary, especially in the case of being open. Not everyone is okay with it. And I'm like, most of my really good friends know about it already, but it's like, some people are not in the space to, like, accept that. And I'm not going to bring my partners in a room where they're going to be treated or disrespected. How
does your friends and family feel about this? And do they know, like, how open are you about the status of your relationship with your primary partner?
My dad knows, and my brothers and sister know. My mom doesn't yet know. She's going to know eventually. Again, that thing where I'm like, I don't know how to really message it to her based on her real concern right now is us getting married. You know what I mean? So for her, if I bring up anything, like, again, she's like, you've gained 35, like, what's going on with the babies? If I give her anything that looks like it's going off the baby track to her grandchildren, I feel like I'm not interested in dealing with the stress and the heat from that right now. I'm just kind of like, look, we're going to chill. But eventually she's going to know, because your kids are going to tell on you, right? It's like, you know what I mean? It's not something I'm trying to hide, but it's also not something I'm like walking into every room with. But I told my dad and my siblings when I was going to I told them because I was going to be doing the coaching, and I didn't want them to find out on, like, oh, guess what? Like, I saw a Facebook ad or something, and I'm just like, no. Like, family rule, you know my business for me first. Let me just tell you, my mom, she'll know in her own time. I remember I was going to, like, go, and my brother was like, yo, just chill. Like, you just doing a lot right now. Like, just chill. I was like, I know. He's like, I know you're trying to do this whole American, just tell everybody. I'm like, I get it.
By the way, Linda's Haitian. So the fact that your family, particularly your father, father knows is shocking to me. How did he take that?
He was awesome. I recorded it. I was like, I need proof here for myself. It was not proof, but
I
more
need
like,
proof for me from a Caribbean parent.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, and again, this is back to the testament of like, people will share sometimes based on the kind of space you've created for them to share things with you. My dad has always been the guy where it's like, yo, just tell me the truth. I may still whoop your ass, but at least I'll respect you. That was his whole thing. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll work with these rules. So our experience has always been like, just tell him everything up front. You know what I mean? I'm just like, yo, I cut class. Yo, I like quit this job. Yeah, whatever it is, I just say it, you know what I mean? So that way it's like, he's aware, and usually sometimes he just finds it pretty funny because he's like, okay, whatever, you know, just don't lie to me. It was his thing. And we've had an ongoing relationship, and I'm really, really close with him. So it was just easier to just start with him. My mother and I didn't have that kind of relationship. So it was just like, how do I, without you freaking out, you know what I mean? Like, you're a very religious woman who's really like Haitian, who's very like, my family's farm family. I mean, like, they're from the country. So they just have a very specific way about living. And half of them don't even know how I make like graphic design. When I was like, hey, I do graphic design, visual. It was like, what? Huh?
You draw?
Right? It's like, as long as I had a job, she was just like, okay, whatever. It's like, and it's something I think a lot of people are dealing with now in this generation. People are having these different careers that our parents are just not connecting to. And they're just like, okay, it's whatever it is that you're, as long as you're okay, right?
Right.
But as far as relationship dynamics, the irony is that like in West Indian households, like there is always someone who has like kids with 3 other women, and they're all in the same house together. And I'm just like, they're doing it without being
with different labels.
Yeah, with different labels, but like, and less being like forthright up front. But people are dealing with it. They're like, I'm like, oh, who's this? For example, in Creole,
you got a new cousin. I didn't.
Ça c'est famille.
Who is this? Yeah.
Oh, ça c'est famille. In Creole, it's like, this is family. Like, it's like, I'm like, oh, who's that? I'm like, and I'm looking for like typical growing up in America. I'm like, is that like a 3rd cousin, a 4th cousin? I'm like, what the? Wave my hand. It doesn't matter. They may not even be blood related. C'est famille. It's like your family. And I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever. Like, these are people, it's like play cousin or whatever. You just family. I'm not here to get specific about what your bloodline is.
Right.
This person, you treat them like fam. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I already grew up with that kind of idea. So specific to my mom, she will know in her own time, but mainly it's really about, because the conversation that's really in our way right now is, when are we having the wedding and when is the baby's happening, you know? And that's her real primary situation.
You're like, let's get through that first.
Yeah. I was like, wedding done? Cool. Now let's let you know like what's going to be like, what my life is really like, so that you're not like caught off guard, because eventually you will see him. You know what I mean? And so I'm just kind of like just letting you know. But my family, as far as my sisters and brothers, like, they've been really awesome. Everyone's been pretty much.
Do they get it?
They do. They're just more like, in my family, it's like, oh, they think I'm like the hippie random like, they're like, oh yeah, Linda doing that Linda thing. You know what I mean?
Linda going Linda.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah, she's trying that, you know what I mean, new thing over there, whatever that is. So for them, I don't even think they even take me that like seriously. They're like, okay, cool, but they won't know. No one knows how this is really going to impact them over time.
Have they met people outside of your boyfriend that you've been in like partnership with or anything like that?
My sister has, and my brother through Skype. I think it was on a FaceTime. That's what it was. But yeah, that was it. For the most part, because of this merging conversation, like why merging is really important to me, I've been really clear about not just bringing people over. Do you know what I mean? You don't like just bring over like, oh, this guy I'm dating, I think he's cute. It's like, that's not how it works culturally.
See, I bring people over though, because I need early vetting.
No, I vet. You know what I mean? It's just like, I have to be the one. I'm like, my idea is that I'm the one living with this person. So
right.
It's like, if I'm okay with it, that's it. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and I know how like, I mean, speak of controlling, I mean, I really don't want bad vibes around me. You know what I mean? So, and it's especially, I'm also in a great relationship. It is really impaired. Like I can, it's like smelling the fuckery a mile away. I'm like, nope. I don't need, there's no sense of rush for me to just bring anybody in. There's no need for that.
Right.
The way I look at it when I'm dating is, if you cannot sit across the table and have a good conversation with my partner, then you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? So the people think like, oh, cause you're open, you're just open to fuck everybody. I'm like, listen, how many people how many men do you know, or women who are interested in just having a conversation with any other partner with you and just chilling? That alone like cuts the pie, you know what I mean? Like in half. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's really not. So when you see them, it's clear, you know, you can spot a good fit earlier on now.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like I wish things I knew now, I would have done dating in my 20s a lot different. After the relationship hierarchy, the relationship escalator, the sexual and romantic connection was the one, like I said, we shifted. And I think there's also a stigma for people who are together but are not having sex together or not romantically involved in some kind of way. And people feel like if you're not having sex with that partner you're with or your life partner, oh, something must be wrong with you.
Right.
It's not true. People have there's so many different type of relationship dynamics that people have that they're together because you never know. Some people have, like women have endometriosis, so they're having issues with sometimes I just don't. It's painful. You know what I mean? Or some other situations are happening or a disability, things shift in the relationship for people. And so it's like just letting people know if you're in that situation, it's totally fine. But for those who want to shift that aspect of the relationship, you can still be monogamous and shift that. I think they call it ethical monogamy or conscious monogamy. But
shift that in terms of not having sex or having sex with other people.
You not having sex or having sex with other people, whatever you want. You can shift that. You can shift anything you want and make it fit to you. That was the whole purpose.
I feel like it's hard for us to see it like that because just like everything else, we have this sort of blueprint in our minds of here's what a relationship is. And part of that is, you have sex maybe X amount of times per week, per month, or whatever your marker is.
Yeah.
And then when it doesn't live up to that, you think there's something wrong with my relationship.
Things can shift over time, and don't try to don't think that don't blame your partner, don't blame yourself really. You know what I mean? Don't blame yourself thinking hey, I'm in a different space in my life right now. I'm needing a moment to figure some things out. I don't have to don't just blame yourself. And I think that is it's a sensitive space for people because they're just kind of well, the TV said I should be fucking 5 days a week. I must be wrong. And it's I think it was a book called The Hookup. I think it is a woman who researched all these college students and how they're actually having sex and this idea of hooking up. And the reality came down to people who were I'm hooking up all the time were usually having sex with the same person at different times of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times over the year, but they were not necessarily just sleeping with strangers. What the marketing says and what people are actually doing is very different.
Right.
And it was just interesting because there's people really weren't hooking up them. If they're hooking up less now than quote unquote our parents were fucking. And it's just but that's not. If you let,
but even the word hookup implies something completely different than I'm in a relationship with this one person. We're having sex several times a week. The word itself implies I met a stranger and had sex, and I do that all the time. For some reason, that's the definition of hookup.
Yeah, it's a lie, and it's really because of the language. The language is limiting people to move in a particular way, and that's not really true to how they actually are moving. And then they don't have anything else to really describe. They give specificity to what they're doing. Being open has forced me to come up with words for stuff people don't care about, compersion. The part of getting really excited about your partner having pleasure is receiving pleasure. It's what? You know what I mean? But because of this world is so new, these people, what I find is fascinating, people are having it forced to come up with language to be new relationship energy. People used to call, I think it's another word for it. I forget. When you meet someone, you're really excited about them and all you do is talk about them all the time. You're oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Well,
you're oh, somebody says the word red and you're oh my God, my boyfriend loves the color red. Yes. It's his favorite color. He has 5 red shirts. Yeah. He loves red.
Right. So my other partner frequently dates, you know what I mean? So there's I had to deal within every 4 to 5 weeks, there'd be someone he'd be oh my God, and Sarah.
Sarah loves red. And 5 red shirts.
Yo, you know what I mean? And it took me a minute where I was okay, I caught the pattern. I was all right, you get excited for about 2 weeks, and then they blend in, and I'm okay, I'm familiar with this person. I get to know them, And he does a really good job of sharing what he loves about his partners. So a lesson I learned from him is because it's hard for me to create space for someone that you don't tell me about, right? Which is the paradox is people feel it's this whole, people are more important, are more inclined to, are more interested in the don't ask, don't tell, or...
I'm not. I feel I would want to know everything.
Right. But
I'm almost, it's the opposite for me. The fear, for me, would be the opposite where I'm well, yeah. I don't know what type of food she likes. You haven't shared that. I'd be weird, weird stuff where it's why would you need to know that? Because I need to know everything.
Right. I mean, if I'm making dinner, I want to put a good impression. I feel you, right? And I feel that's the thing where I'm in this case, I would just say, I tell people, don't, because they're like, well, what do I share? What do I don't share? I'm like, there needs to be some like kind of respect level between you and your other partners, because it's like, I don't want them thinking like, oh, my partners just tell me everything about them, which is they really don't. What I asked for them to do is just tell me what they learned about themselves. So whatever you're telling me, frame it in something that happened and what you learned about yourself from it.
So you have your primary partner. Are you guys engaged?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have your primary partner that you're engaged to, and you guys have been together for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And then you have another partner, and he's the only other partner.
Right now, yeah.
And how long have you guys been seeing each other?
2 years.
Okay, that's a long time.
2.5. Yeah, it's about this August. Yeah.
And so does your fiance have any other partners?
Yes. He has another partner.
How long has he been seeing
2
his
years,
other partner?
Yeah.
So around the same time?
Yeah, he met her like a month after I met Keith. Yeah.
How much interaction is there and communication is there? Like, does your partner know his partner? Does it ever cross? Do you talk about, like, how much do you share? Like, how much does he want to know? Like, what's the dynamic there with having other partners?
The dynamic is more, there's no group dates. That's not happening. Like, that's not how we move, but there are people who do that. I kind of like it separate because I just don't want to be hovering over anyone, and I don't want anyone hovering over me. But the way we set it up is more, I'm mainly with Reese most of the time. So whoever he's, when he talks about, like...
Reese is your fiance.
Yeah, Reese is my fiance. So whoever he talks about, like, it's usually just like, hey... I found, like, for example, she's really great at gift giving, Ebony. Amazing at gift giving.
And that's Reese's other partner.
Reese's other partner, right? And she gave him a card. She made a collage card. And Reese and I typically we're not big gift givers, right? So we're really, like, the whole love language thing, like, you could say we're more quality time and acts of service. And he got the card and showed it to me, and I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And he came to be like, oh my gosh, you need this card. He was really excited about it. And I remember being like, wait a second, have you secretly been a gift lover this whole time and you didn't tell me? Oh my God. And he was like, whoa. Like, he was just like, it's just nice to receive gifts. No, I'm not a big gift person, but like, it's not. And I was just like, oh my God. And I remember after calming down, because my brain went somewhere else. I was just like, oh my God, she's doing this thing better. And I'm like, no.
How do you not keep your brain from going there all the time? Because I feel like that is where my brain would legit go. All the time, every day, with everything.
It's rebound. I'm just saying, it'll go there. You just can't sit there. You know what I mean? I was just like, that's really what's about. It's like your rebound. I'm just like, oh my God. And then I came back and I was like, wait a second. I was like, this is actually really dope, because she taught me something where I was like, yo, I actually would like to do, this is really nice. I would actually like to do more gift giving. I don't know why I never did. I just felt like I grew up a household where, like, by the time we were 8, people were like, Christmas is over. It's no more. We don't have money for all this anymore. You just chill. So I got accustomed to gifts not being
Do you know what my petty ass would do?
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, you like card collages, do you? I would get like poster board size paper and then be like, look, I made you a better collage. Do you like this collage?
Oh my God.
I'm so petty. God help me not be this petty.
No. I mean, you listen. I'm just like, if you will, in time, do not rush your process. You hear me? Like, listen, this is not easy. You know what I mean? I was like, my petty shows up in so many different ways. And I was just like, but in that situation, I was like, after I was like, oh my God, I'm like horrible. I didn't know you really like gifts. Like, my thing was less about her. It was more about like, did I miss something that you've always wanted this whole time that I wasn't aware of? And I'm like, it's been 7 years, like, that you secretly like, but you never told me. Do you get me? Like, I was like, did I create it? I started to think, did I create an experience where you felt like you couldn't tell me that you like this other thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's amazing, by the way, that that's how you received it. Like, is there something more I could have been doing for you this whole time that I was unaware of? Like, that
was more like, not could have, more like, is there something I did that you didn't feel comfortable to share? I'm more concerned that I'm doing something because, okay, my anxieties and what I stress about, what happens is like the person it starts to train them on how they think I move, right? If I start freaking out every time you like, you know, leave a glass on the table without a coaster, then if you're like talking in conversation and you like put the glass on the coaster, you like brace for my reaction of my yelling, right? And I'm
Did Chris tell you that?
Oh my God. hilarious. But like in this case, I was like, what I've learned over this in relationship is I've caught I was like, oh, that was a Linda 2.0 reaction. I was like, now I'm at Linda 4.0. I don't move that way anymore. And there's a lot of stuff of integrating the partner because he doesn't know I'm not going to flip out like that. If for 2 years, all I did was flip out over it. But now I've got something happened. I learned some lesson. I got over it. I'm not there anymore. But he's still reacting to what where he last left off with me, right? And so then my practice now is to be like, yo, I caught you like bracing for that like coaster move. Heads up, I'm Linda 4.0 now. I'm not going to flip out over it anymore.
Right.
He might not believe me, but he has to see me. He has to like do it a couple of times to be like, oh no, for real, you're good. I'm like, I'm good. Like it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it's like that kind of thing. And
right.
So I think for me, because again, my like concerns and anxieties was what forced me to go dive deep into like research to making sure I didn't mess things up, because when we were doing this open thing, I was just like, I don't want to miss anything, you know, like that's how that happened. But that can also make the person feel like, oh my God, am I okay? Am I perfect? Am I doing, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Which is why I was just like, it doesn't need to have that level of stress at all. It can be way more fun. You know what I mean? But I didn't have that awareness. I didn't have the lesson to be like, oh, yo, I just did trip out over this. It's just, I don't even know why I did. My bad. And that's my practice with them. It's very much like, as soon as I can catch that I was like off, but I was like, I don't need, it doesn't feel good. I don't need to keep that. We can let it go. Right. Mm. So for the collage, when she undid that, I was like, I could do that actually. I was like, but to be fair, I used to always say Linda 2.0 was like, I don't do cards, I don't do gifts, I don't, you know what I mean? I was just like, but I spoke it into existence. I'm like, did we not do gifts because of what I always spoke into the relationship, or is it because, and you just went along with it, you know what I mean? Or did you really like actually not want it? So from that, the lesson I learned from there was like, from her was like, okay, cool. Like now I can start, like I try to do it now with gifts. Like I don't make collages. I was just like, but I'll be like, I'll try to be more thoughtful with gift giving. Before, I mean, you couldn't get me to wrap anything. I would just put in a gift bag of tissue paper and be like, here, at least you got it, right?
I gave you something, right?
It was just nice to see that, where I was like, oh, yo, I could learn from that. When they first started dating, she had a issue with, I think it was like his texting or something, like some kind of communication thing, which was funny because I had the same thing with him when we first started dating. The things you did, it comes back. It didn't go anywhere. But because you're not dating anyone else, it's not being mirrored back to you. So everyone's just a different mirror. Every single person that you're at is like a mirror to you. She mirrored something in his communication where I was like, oh my God, you still do that? It was hilarious. Because I was like, that was like from, you know what I mean, years ago.
That was from 7 years ago. Why are you doing that though?
It was just like nice to be like, oh my God, I wasn't the only one who saw that, you know what I mean? And so
I'm not crazy.
Right, you know? Or, the favorite one I had was with, so Reese has been trying to get me, early on in our relationship, to work out for the longest. You
look like you work out.
Oh God.
You don't work out?
No.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
But thank you. I was like, I'm just literally just starting. I don't even want to take all that full credit. But so he was like, yo, what if the zombie apocalypse comes? I mean, like, I need you to be able to like carry your own weight. And I was like, what is this zombie? Stop this madness, right? So fast forward, I'm dating Keith, and we go on a bike ride, within the first couple months of us dating, and I could barely make it up this hill. Like barely. We come back, and he's like, yo, Lynn, he's just like, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like you should have been more fit. He's just kind of like, what if it's a zombie apocalypse? And I literally...
You were like, why is everybody concerned about this damn zombie apocalypse?
Freaked out. I was like, what are you talking? What is this zombie? And he's like, mind you, this is the first time he does not know this conversation's been ongoing for me. So I flip and I'm like, oh my God. And when I calm down, again, rebound, right? I calm down. I'm like, okay, look, I'm sorry I was yelling, but here, let me explain to you what's going on. I tell him the story about Reese, and he was just kind of like, oh. And he was like, well, I mean, the thing is, it came back to you twice from the universe, so there must be some truth to this, right? And I was just like, okay, right. You're right. I think I was like, you're right. It came back again, and so fitness, I need to take this seriously. Sometimes the thing that you need to hear is hard to hear from someone who's closest to you, right? You like, they just can't be the one to get you to shift. So someone else coming in again was like, yo, zombie pop. I was like, okay, fine. I'll do a push up. Okay, I'll figure this out. You know what I mean? when they met, that was the story I told, because I had already told the both of them about.
How did they eventually end up meeting?
I was going to Paris with Keith, and so I was like, okay, you gotta get together and meet together. Mm-hmm. So I set up a meeting.
So there's overseas travel involved?
Yeah.
Okay.
Overseas travel, yes.
Okay.
Overseas travel involved.
By the way, as you tell me everything, I put myself in the position of your partner or of you when it's being told, and I'm like, you can't go. I don't know if you can go to Paris. I might let you go to a different national city, but not internet. No. Passports.
He was super cool about it. He was super cool about it. I was like, hey, let's have the two of you guys talk. And
this was in person?
Yeah, in person. And so the way I set it up was just like I sat in the middle and had both of them on both sides. Because the thing is, I made sure I asked each person what were the concerns they were going to have when they're both in the same room. I was just like, I'm not going to tongue someone down in front of you guys, chill, because I wouldn't do what I wouldn't want done to me. It's really my whole the whole way I move is just if I flip out about this, would I want him doing this to me? I'm like, I got to figure out a way to resolve this within myself, because I was just I don't want to create. I feel like if I whatever I stress about, it somehow gives a person license to be like, well, I can be nitpicky about that. I'm like, I don't even want to do that. You know what I mean? So they met, and before I went to Paris, and it was really great because, like I said, I was like, all right, let me sit in between you guys and just hold both their hands, and just because you could still communicate through touch of just holding someone, just being like, hey, everything is good. They were like, fine. I was just like, hey, what are your concerns? What are your questions? And then talk and meet face to face.
What were the concerns and questions in that moment?
Reese's main thing was yo, just take care of my friend. You just want to make sure this other guy is not just out here to just be an ass and then just try to he needs his own, I need to look you in the eye as a woman and just be like, okay, look, I'm not here to hover and control you in this relationship. And I want you to have, and you and Reese to have your own thing. I asked both of them, what are their concerns? And the concerns really were, they didn't really have any about being in the room together outside of just kind of I just want to make sure that everybody's just respectful. I'm like, yeah, I know because I picked you and I know both of you, or in my opinion, the way you move with me are great. You're going to be fine. So when we got in the room, it was just more yo, what up? Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Here, I don't recall it being, as far as the main thing I remember Reese saying was I just want you to make sure you're taking care of my friend. You know what I mean? She's about to be across the ocean with you. So it's making sure everyone's really you're good. You meet me. I think they had to work out their own, am I jealous, concerned, or am I comparing him? You know what I mean? On their own. But if for me, my goal.
But neither one of them brought that to you.
Not in the room. Not in the room. Mm-hmm. On their own, they were I'm going through my own issues about if I'm feeling weird about about anything, oh, am I good enough or whatever. But they worked it out on their own. And I was just same thing with I think when I met Ebony, I told her, I was like, look, if I'm ever tripping, and if you're listening now, but I'm letting you know, but if I'm ever tripping, it's not because of you. It's me dealing with something on my own I got to figure out on you. It's never going to be because of you.
Right.
It's always going to be because of me. You know what I mean?
You're the most mature person I've ever met, Linda.
No, listen, emotional.
So mature.
It's ridiculous. I've had to it's not even mature. It's again, do what you want someone to do to you. I want a chill time. I want to have a good time. Don't stress me out. That's it. I won't stress you out. You don't stress me out. So I'll do everything I can to manage my fuckery, you know what I mean, and my brain to not bring that to the table, because it's if I cut my teeth on friends, you know what I mean? I was the real controlling issues I've had were girlfriends when I was in high school. I like that boy who doesn't know her at all. And it's none of you can talk to him. And you're okay. And then, as girlfriends, you're maneuver around this person. There are plenty of people who've never been talked to because one person had already put dibs on you, never talked to you. And you're I mean, but then I do these things for these friends. And then what ends up happening is when it's they don't reciprocate it to me. And I'm what is going on? And you just learn, you learn these controlling rules and dances that are pointless. And you're you know what? This is ridiculous, in the guise of whatever. And I was just I feel because of it, learning that stuff early, I was just I don't want to create in my friendships and if you know me, I'm going to do everything I can to not create a space where I'm controlling you. Do you know what I'm saying? I was just that's really how I move. It may look oh, you don't, some people may think the lack of control looks like you don't care about them or you don't love them. It's not the case for me. It's just more like, I don't like being controlled and I don't want to create space for you to do so. It doesn't always work. You know what I mean? Like, you can be really chill and someone still try to be like, you know, like,
right.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it's just the energy I'm just trying to put out in the world, the way I move, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I just kind of like, look, it doesn't have to be this hard and like so crazy and difficult. We could have fun, you know? But as far as like when they met together, they were just really cool. It was just kind of like, let's respect each other. Everybody was really cool. They talk. They cracked jokes about the whole zombie apocalypse on me. They're like, no, I told her. She's like, it's a metaphor. And I was like, I know, I don't care. It was just like, it was really like, I know, I pick people that I know, that are gonna be good in the room together. You
right.
know what I mean? So
you're thinking of your partner when you're thinking about a new person entering into your life.
Oh, just because you're cute, please. Stop it. You know what I mean? I was just like, that's not how it's working. I'm just like, I can't have headaches. You know what I mean? So if you move in a way that's like, I want to be on the Ferris wheel, I want to marry, I'm just like, I see that and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not the person for you. Yeah, I'm not the one for you. And that's okay. And I think some people believe like, it's like, yeah, is like nothing's wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with you. The situation that you're in is just not what fits you. That's it. You know what I mean? And like, especially if you're monogamous and people want to be like, oh my God, you should be open. Listen, stop it. The person who tells you that like, oh, monogamy is wrong, run from them. Like, sprint. Just get away. No, it's like everybody's doing their ways. They're doing it differently. And it's just like, as long as you're just conscious of what you're doing and how you're showing up, and a lot of it, you really just don't know how it's been sold to you. Like I was saying, like in the whole relationship escalator, it was like most relationships have this, the romantic relationships have like these 5 pillars and they're like running things and people don't realize. I'm like, yo, in your relationship, for example, the last one was continuity and consistency. In the book, it was like they interviewed 1,200 people who were in different types of relationships, and they put 300 of them with like quotes. Everyone has like different types of styles of like loving and not living together, or like being solo poly, where you're like, you don't live to merge with anyone else. Merging is not important to you. You're like, I don't live my life to go marry someone else. I am my own stable. So everyone's kind of like, she's the anchor and everyone's just rooted to her, is connected to her. But you don't move. She doesn't move in the idea of like, I need to go merge with someone else, right? Like,
I think I might be solo poly. Honestly, the amount of alone time I need to function in an actual relationship, I'm like, wait, am I solo poly?
You get what I'm saying? But like, you may want some merging, but on a different level where you're like, hey, I could merge maybe finances with you, but I don't need to merge with the living spaces. I mean, there was a whole chapter dedicated to not.
What is this book called again?
The Relationship Escalator.
I need to read this book. I really need to get this book.
Because it's mostly just, it was a journalist who just basically did a survey and then kind of like compiled it in different, I mean, it was just so good. I was like, what? Like, there were just so many different types of way people were choosing to be together. And I think the biggest challenge right now is that people don't have examples, right? I was saying like imagination, like I don't know what it could look like, mainly because most people don't surface it. You know what I mean? Because they're just like, I don't want to seem like I'm weird. I'm outside this model. But like, there's someone in your crew, someone you know who's doing their relationship differently. And then maybe that they think in the room, maybe, you know, if you're always talking about marriage is the only way, then that person who does not want marriage may not feel comfortable to tell you that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and it could be your best friend. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's just what words you're putting into the relationship, into the room, sometimes can stop someone feeling like, I don't know if I really want to bring my truth into this space, because, you know, even though technically if they find out, they'd be cool. Like, I thought so. Like, I thought I had some friends who would be like, no, Linda.
Have most of your friends been cool about it?
Yo, they're just like, oh, because what I found was like, I didn't come to them asking permission. I just said what I was doing.
Here's where I'm at.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's a big thing. It's like, you don't go to anyone with permission. It's like,
if you don't pay my bills, I don't really need to ask your permission for anything.
You know what I mean? Like, we're already doing it. So it was like, I think, because before, if I asked before, it would be out of fear, because they're concerned that, oh, don't do it, Linda. You know, it's something, you don't even know what's happening to you, because they're concerned about me making a bad decision and like getting hurt. And I totally understand that. But I was just like, I came in, we're like, hey, I had told them because I was going to be dating, and I didn't want someone who knows Reese as a partner to be like, Linda, what are you doing out here? Like, because I'm cheating, you know what I mean? Or for him too, it's like, listen, listen, we're both open. Everyone's cool. Like, chill. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I told them because I was just like, I just wanted you to find out because you're my friend and I have your number. You don't need to find out on Facebook. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. Same thing I did with my family, right? And they were hella cool. It's usually more like I may not be okay with this idea for myself, but I'm fuck with you. So that's cool.
Right. Because people, the first thing they do is probably put themselves in that shoe and then say, I could do this or I couldn't based on, you know, just like how I've been reacting to everything in this podcast. Like, oh no. Oh yeah.
Totally
so the big thing that I forgot to mention is that Linda is an open relationship coach. Mm-hmm. And so you help couples that want to potentially go into that space.
Yeah.
So what would you say are maybe the top 3 things that a couple who is looking to go into that space should know or should do?
I would say the number 1 is research. Read. There's this podcast called Multi-Amory. I'm not affiliated with them, not connected, but I feel like in the podcasting world, they're doing a great job. Roughly 200 episodes. Just pick one. Just look at their title and a title that sticks out to you. They have a great podcast. Just start from the beginning and see if they have anything that's for you. The Relationship Escalator is a great book, a great resource. I'd be like number 2. But for the podcast, what recent I did was that when we first started, we would pick one, listen to it together, and then like dissect it together and give each other feedback. Because I find it's a great, so there's some things you may be afraid to say and some things you don't know you can say, but when it's being said by someone else and you guys are critiquing something you heard, it gives room for the both of you to be like, oh, I never thought about this. Or then also you get to hear parts like things that your partner didn't even think they were concerned about, you know,
right?
Because you're just like, oh wait, I didn't know you thought that, you know, if I touch you on your nose, that means I want to fuck you. You're like, what? It's like all this stuff comes up.
Well, everybody knows when you do a nose touch what that means.
It's like, come on, you know what I mean? I really think Multi-Amory is a good podcast. It's like 2 women and a man, and they do a really good job of just having these like great conversations, just diving deep. So just pick one. If you're afraid to, because another issue I find people are afraid to talk to other partners. They're like, I don't know if my partner will do it or not. Those are not the people I work with. It's easier to work with people who we already know.
Right.
There are a lot of couples that are opening up, and they are looking specifically for single women. So a lot of single women are out when they're dating and they're like swiping on Tinder or whatever. They're meeting a guy who's attached to another woman, a couple.
Right.
And they're not researching on their own. So they're allowing the guy to like be the default like educator. And I'm just like, yo, sometimes if there's like lack of trust in the relationship or whatever, they have these crazy rules that are going to affect you. Like, okay, you can't sleep over at anyone else's house. You can't, if you want to kiss her, you got to text me beforehand. You know what I mean? She doesn't know that, right? Walking into it. So she's kind of like, is this okay? Is this no? I don't know. And I'm like, no, you need to be armed with your own thing because you need to understand that sometimes some couples have a lot of work they need to do on their own.
That has nothing to do with you.
At all. And you do not take that shit, okay? I was just like, it's not right. And so I was like, couples have their own. In the beginning, I had a real challenge. I was like, I don't know if I really want to work with them because I'm just like, there's so much untangling to have to do. But like over the years, I've met people who are just kind of like, look, we get it and we're ready to do this work. And I was like, okay, I'm here to support.
Linda, I have to say, you've been my favorite guest. dead serious. Sorry, other guests, don't take that personally, but I really like that. You know, the open relationship may or may not be for everybody. Yeah. But I really like that you've used this as a way to identify how you could be a better person for you and for your partners. Yeah. And that's amazing. And if nothing else comes out of this, like you've become a better person, and that's amazing. And I love it. And thank you for opening my mind. Thank you for sharing. And, you know, thank you for putting up with my controlling BS tonight.
No. It's been a great time. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. Can people reach you on like a website or social media or anything?
Yeah, you can just LindaRislin.com, LindaRislin.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. And thank you guys so much for listening tonight. And please reach out to me at Tanisha Wood on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and let me know what you think of tonight's show.
Yeah.
And until next time, wish me love. Hello again, my lovely listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of DRL. If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes and leave a rating and also write a review. And don't forget to share with your friends and tell them all about DRL. Thank you so much for supporting.